As I walk around North Adams, I see a great deal of historically valuable housing stock falling into terrible disrepair. How do you propose to rebuild our housing so as to benefit the poor, middle class, and all citizens of our community? Please be specific.
Well, I think when you say with the Victorian housing and everything else, you know, there's only so much a city or government can do. I think what we've done is try to make this a community in which people want to live in. They've come here. A lot of them have renovated houses. We have so many young families that come back to town who lived here before. You know, Becky and Kurt Chalana came back here after leaving the area for a while. There's other similar situations too, like that, that have come back here because of the quality of life that we have here. This housing stock has fallen into disrepair because of slum landlords that are out there. They're not my friends. They're not on my Christmas card list, and I'm not on theirs. And I can tell you right now, I just want you to go out and drive around this city. And where you see those dilapidated properties, you don't see Barrett signs. And the reason you don't see Barrett signs is for a very simple reason. I don't want to deal with them. I want to deal with them in a court of law. I want to deal with them to make sure that they don't do the substandard housing that they're doing. It's a shame what they do in some of the living conditions. And Dick, you talk about unskilled workers. Let me tell you something. The saddest day of my life is when Sprague started to close and Berkshire Tanning closed way back when, and some of our other Extile Mill closed. And I had to deal with that unskilled worker. The skilled worker found jobs at General Electric, that draftsman, that engineer. But that unskilled worker, we have to find jobs for them too because they're entitled to jobs. They're not going to be able to do the skilled jobs, but they're entitled to jobs. And many times I've been maligned because we have created service jobs and we've created other types of jobs that desire less skills in the eyes of some people, but yet they're highly skilled in my eyes. They deserve a right to a job too. And boy, we work as hard as we can with them, and I hope we'll always continue, and we never lose sight of that fact. But that unskilled worker, when you have a worker coming to you that's 54 and 55 years old, and a husband and wife team, and basically said they've been laid off from their job, and they got 2 kids in college, boy, if your heart doesn't go out to them and redouble your commitment to do something about it, then you're not much of a person.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to sound redundant, but it comes back to jobs and the economy. With our housing stock continue to deteriorate, it is for the most part because when we had 21,000 or 22,000 people in the city, we still have the same amount of housing to sustain that number of people, yet we have 13,500 or 14,000 people now. We have a poor group of people. We have a lagging economy, and it just doesn't bode well for home ownership. To buy some of these big, old, historic homes, they're incredibly expensive to maintain, incredibly expensive to fix up. But it does depend, and it is reliant upon private ownership. It relies on owner-occupied housing. It relies on those people being able to find low-interest loans. Again, I talked about bank pools and I'm sure banks would welcome this sort of an idea, but bank pools to restore some of these places. Historic grant money might be out there. But again, the problem is that there's nobody here to buy these homes. There's nobody here that can afford those homes.
This is how the city has dealt with this. We've taken the houses down, over 100 houses that can't be saved. We then created a Home Opportunity Inc. program and went out and bought these houses through our Small Cities program. We then created loans of less than 3% and a down payment of $2,000 for what I call the working poor that are out there. And there's so many of those people. They're the ones that are suffering the most. We have that program. We're working with Hoosick Savings Bank right now through HUD with another program so that we can get people back in the neighborhoods. And when you look at all those empty lots on River Street, those within the next 5 years are going to be filled with new types of housing, new types of townhouses, and over 25% of them are going to be reserved by any developer that wants to build. 25% have to go to make it affordable for people who live and work in this community. And that's important too in looking down the road.